week 11 of 50, the big red shoes were real. Everyone who has signed up for $4.22 a month or more at patreon.com/DGAF poker player got a lead up to this episode on Friday. If you don't know by now, lead ups are private drops of sessions in which I share everything that goes on in my life when I'm not at the poker table. They are much more intimate than the public drops of sessions, and according to hundreds of patrons, many of whom have been listening to sessions for 8 years now, they are the best regular mental escapes you can get in audio form. Perfect for commutes, workouts, walks, or just trying to fall asleep after a busy day. If you too want this weekly private spew, all you got to do is commit to $4.22 at patreon.com/DGAF poker player. But wait, there's more. For that $4.22 a month, less than one big blind for most of you, you also get full access to all 8 seasons of sessions, 1,241 episodes and counting. And at that point, you will never be left with nothing to listen to again. You don't have to listen to every drop of sessions to get caught up in the story. You can simply pick and choose the titles that look interesting to you, and that should do the trick. Also, each week, I highlight an episode I think new listeners might want to go back and check out. With that said, it's time for... You don't have one? Okay, eventually we're going to have a drum roll. Sound guy, you're working on it? When do you think you'll have it done? You don't know? All right, so no drum roll, but it's time for the weekly spotlight. And we are covering season 4, currently in the weekly spotlights. Last week, I told you about week 32 of 50 for season 4, called Hustler Casino Live. That was me starting there as a commentator. And yeah, that was a huge bink for me in my career. And then it got weird, and now I'm back. And I think it's worth checking out, how I was feeling about it going in. And yeah, I just always tell the story. I don't know anything in life. I just tell the story as it happens. And I try and make good decisions. And occasionally I do. And sometimes I don't. And that's the way it goes. Okay. Now I want to talk about week 36 of season 4, called The Hustler. So not Hustler Casino Live, but The Hustler. And here's the deal. The way I became a commentator was I just randomly saw a Ryan Feldman tweet that said he was leaving Live at the Bike. And I had commentated once on Live at the Bike, a co-commentator with World Bow Free. And I did it faux free. And it was fun. And after, someone that plays poker with me told a friend, this guy could make a career out of it. And you hear something like that, and it just kind of sticks with you a little bit. It was just, one night at Live at the Bike, no training, obviously, and just kind of the color commentary. And that kind of just was bouncing around in the back of my head, and I saw that tweet from Ryan that he left Live at the Bike, and he was going to start a new show somewhere. And I said, sorry to hear, let me know if you need a commentator. And then I saw another tweet that he had agreed to start a new show at The Hustler called Hustler Casino Live. And I don't remember if he reached out to me or I reached out to him as a reminder, but either way, he was like, yeah, let's get you in there as a commentator. And he thought I could do it. I don't know if he even heard the time I commentated Live at the Bike, but he'd heard my podcast. And talkers talk. And if someone can talk into a microphone, in their office with headphones on, they can probably talk into a microphone in a booth with headphones on. And I tell stories from the poker table based on recall and using notes, so I could probably do it if I'm actually watching it happen on a screen. And so he just kind of believed in me. Well, he not just kind of believed in me. He just said, yeah, you're going to do you're going to come up 1 week a month, and let's do it. And so that was cool. At this point, once it was announced that I was going to be a commentator, I think I had a meeting with Ryan and Nick over Zoom or something. But once it was, and that's when I met Nick. And once it was announced, I got a message on Twitter from the three Bs and said, "Hey, I'm Sean. I'm the general manager of The Hustler. Glad to hear you're going to be commentating for the show. Would you like our casino to sponsor your podcast?" And I said, "No, thank you. I'm an idealist. I believe in the purity of the escape. I've listened to some podcasts that I really enjoyed. Most of them were true crime. And it feels like the moment I get lost in it, in the story, I forget that I'm driving. I forget that, I'm exercising. I forget whatever I'm trying to forget. I forget about all my bullshit that I'm dealing with in life. There's a fucking commercial for a new toothbrush or something. And I hate that. So I initially said, no, thank you. I said, okay, well, when you come up for your first week, let's have lunch. Sure. So came up and I met Sean upstairs at the Hustler and just sat in a booth and had lunch. And he's like, you sure? Like, we sponsor, who are they sponsoring at the time? Johnny Vibes. I said, well, I don't like commercials. I don't like ads. I got, people who pay to listen to my shit, the patrons, and I don't really want to be inserting any ads. And I said, well, what would it entail? What would you want me to do? He said, nothing, whatever you want. And he got me there. Nothing, whatever I want. Okay. Sponsor this podcast. Yeah, Hustler can sponsor this podcast. Sure. And I don't know if I do know he's a visionary, but I was immediately grateful. I've been struggling financially for 8 years. Before that, I used to have $40K in my pocket. That's not an exaggeration. I'd have 8 5K wraps, usually 4 in each leg pocket. And I used to wear cargo pants, not because I thought they looked cool, but because I had a lot of money to carry. But in the last 8 years, it's been a real struggle. And currently the struggle is as hard as it's ever been after rebuilding the show at Lucky Lady, maxed out every credit card, and that interest is crippling. And, I'm going places these days. I'm going to El Pollo Loco and like praying my card doesn't get declined. And sometimes it does. And you got to find another one that has a little wiggle room. But whatever. I was very grateful for being sponsored by The Hustler. And I just said, well, it's smart because if you sponsor my podcast, you become part of the story. So you don't hear me doing ad reads for Hustler. It just became part of the story. And then people hear it and then they want to come to Hustler. So it's organic advertising or, marketing, whatever. And I also started building games for them. The Hustler had nothing bigger than 5-5 when I went there. And the 5-5 didn't always go. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to add a 5-5-10. And I'm going to do it one day a week. And you guys can promote it. And then he said, this is great. It's valuable for a casino to have someone that can bring in a whole new game and get it going every time he's there. And then I started doing it 3 days a week. And so then they increased my sponsorship. So I'm not a paid host. I'm just sponsored by The Hustler. And it's just been a very communal relationship throughout. Sean knows my value. He pays me fairly. I then work as hard as possible. And then he meets me there. And it's been incredible. That has turned into, so that 5-5-10 game, that's a staple game at Hustler now. Well, I brought it, I built it, I pay people to market it every week. I tip Nikki the board girl, who's a big piece, every week, and it's cool. It feels good. Well, and then I also started up at Lucky Lady. They were dormant. It was a dormant building. I first went to another lunch with Sean Yapel, maybe a year or so after I'd been at Hustler and Hustler Casino Live, and I was upset about something. Well, the cheating allegations really tilted me, and beyond tilted, they wrecked me. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not cheating anyone. I'm not taking any shortcuts. I don't do that. I only person I've ever cheated is myself, and it fucking fucked me up. And then one of the people that was platforming these conspiracy theorists, and you'd be surprised who the conspiracy theorists were. Some of them are very reputable people in the poker world. So they should know better. And many have deleted their shit and apologized. Haralabis came off of his thing of saying my win rate was impossible. When he played with me, he said, "Oh, I get it." And but I remember like Ryan Reese was saying this shit. That's the guy who won the World Series of Poker, like got a pretty big platform. What's that guy that people think is kind of, interesting or funny? Chainsaw. He's not. He's a nit. He's someone happy to infringe upon others. He has a big flat platform somehow and was just saying unequivocally that I cheated when I didn't. I didn't. I'm a soul reader. If you're going to give me the best hand sometimes, I'm going to win. And especially in big games where it becomes very psychological. And anyways, another person that had a big platform was Joey Ingram. And he wasn't casting judgment on me, but he was allowing others to on his platform. And someone would be like, turn that shit on. And I turn it on. And there's a picture of me, like he's showing part of a stream, but it's frozen. And I'm seeing his chat, scumbag, cheater, piece of shit, scumbag, scumbag. I'm a sensitive boy. And that shit didn't sit well with me. And then he was hired to do the $1 Million Game. And that triggered me. And I initially told Ryan, that's your choice. I don't want to commentate it. And then I went out to eat with Sean. I said, dude, like, I want to like do more work for you. Like, this is frustrating. He said, well, don't burn that bridge. Commentate the $1 Million Game. It's good for you. And also, we have this other property down the street, Lucky Lady. And he said, you can try and build business there. And I said, I've never even been there. I've never even seen it. It's less than a mile from the Hustler. I said, yeah, like if you think you can build stuff there, you can make some more money. And so I went to check it out with Miss Scorsese one night. And it was a nice building and nothing going on. And went into the restaurant and bar and had a beer. Just kind of walked around a little bit. And then I decided, yeah, I mean, it's a building. It's got electricity. It's got poker tables. It's got, it's nice. And let's get some stuff going. And so at the time, Ayaka, Brown Balla's better half, had reached out to me. She really wanted to be a part of my hosting business. And she is a good person when you're trying to build games. First of all, she's very professional, so she would show up on time and whatnot. But, she's young and attractive and funny, and, the poker players love that shit. And so she was a good person to start games with. We went over to Lucky Lady, and they had one poker game going. And we were bringing a 2-3 no limit game, just some friends. And, some contacts that she had made, and that, mostly that I'd given her. And there was a 1-2 no limit game going on the main floor. And it was like 4 or 5 handed, and I think all but one player in the game was a prop. So they're paid by the casino to be there. So this is challenging. And we started our 2-3 game, and some people were, walking behind us and looking over our shoulder. It's not a big game, for most people or for many people, but at that place at that time it was a very big game, and it was a little uncomfortable. And so I just did what I do. I just pivoted. I got to bring business here, but this is not going to work out here. And I just walked around the property, and I found this upstairs area, this whole unused area in the back, this upstairs area behind glass doors. And I said, that's where I want to have games. And I asked the casino to move 6 poker tables back there. I'm going to bring the heat. And then I built this business. I hired all these game starters as contractors, paid them weekly. Sometimes they needed to be paid every day. And just built that, and then later built the stream, which has changed several times. But Lucky Lady is a viable poker room now and a viable casino. It's no longer dormant. It's flowing with lava. And that all started with Sean Yapel reaching out to me on Twitter ahead of my first week of commentary, and just saying, do you want Hustler to sponsor your podcast? And so it's just you can go back to week 36 of season 4 and kind of hear about that. And it's just kind of cool to think about. I mean, I've been in Hustler magazine. They did a feature on me. I've, obviously did a lot on the Hustler Casino Live show. I was a big part of the culture. I think Ryan and I were very aligned on what poker should be: action, recreational players, characters. But I was a big part of the culture. You see people slow rolling. No one slow rolled before I played on that show. That was forbidden. But I always slow roll. It's fun. It's funny. It's good for the game. You don't want to do it to the wrong person or at the wrong time. But I did it to Aaron Queskin on stream, and I tanked with aces after he jammed pre-flop for almost a minute. And that's when Max Payne Monday kind of formed. And, just a lot of the culture over there, I helped create. The song, Chat Pro song, I wrote it. And it's just, it might be interesting to some of you to go back and hear it happen, because, I tell the story in real time, usually on a 1-week lag. So that's a long promo, sound guy, and we're not even done. I just really wanted to talk about how amazing. I mean, this is 2021. That's 4 years ago, and I've done a lot of good work up in Gardena, and it's been an incredible relationship with the Hustler, Lucky Lady, Sean Yapel, the Flint family. Been incredible, no complaints. And, I've had my ups and downs with Hustler Casino Live, but we're back on an up right now. I work there again, and I think it's going to be fine this time. I think it's, I don't know. So, included in that $422 a month, less than 1 gallon of gas, where I fill up anyways. You also get membership to Patron Discord. That's where listeners from all over the world go to have discussions and share their stories. And I think that's very cool. And any Patrons listening right now, submit to me a post every now and then at dgafpokerplayer@gmail.com. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's real, I'll read it. And my boy Nick Rose has sent me 3 more little posts. I'm going to take a sip of coffee, and I'm going to read them. I think it's cool. This is a gentleman from across the pond, a DGen with a heart of gold. There's lots of those on Patron Discord. And he's got plenty of tales. He's got plenty of lore. And I'm going to take a sip of coffee, like I said, and I'm going to tell you about some of his posts. So these are in response to last week of sessions called March Madness 25. I did a 4-part lead up, and then obviously the main episode, the session review or sessions review. and a lot of people loved it. They love when I talk about youth sports, and the big red shoes were real. That's my son wears red shoes on the basketball court, and sign up if you want the story. But a lot of people really love the youth sports storytelling, and they can tell that I'm passionate about it, and that's when I became a podcaster, or that's when I officially became a podcaster. I started one in 2018. Didn't listen to any, didn't know what I was doing. Started this one also in 2018. No plans for it. And then 2019, I started talking about my daughter's basketball team that I was coaching. She was in third grade. And that's when people said, dude, you're a podcaster. And I've been one ever since. So anyways, here's what he wrote after listening to all 5 parts of March Madness 25. Wow, wow, wow. Where do I start? 8 years of potting in a bloody 5-part episode. That was pure amazing. Congrats, Spurs. Fuck the Grizzlies. I sorta don't mean that, but fuck them. I was actually so nervous going into that final game of yours. I kept on having to pause it as I wanted you guys to win so much. I felt a bit sick, like I had 10K riding on the game. Congrats to you, coach, man. Congrats to your daughter, coach, and big congrats to Red Shoe Man. Absolutely love it. The Spurs are cool. Even us lobster bags love them. Have a great week and enjoy the win. So that's pretty cool. And the lobster bags is a reference. I never paid attention in school, but my son does a little bit. And I think it was the Revolutionary War. See, I don't know anything, but he just came home from school and we joke around about stuff, me and my son. And he said, yeah, you know about the Revolutionary War? And he's like, we got them lobster backs. I was like, what are you talking? He's like, that's what the Brits were called because they had red coats on, so you couldn't tell if they were bloody or not. But he's like, them lobster backs, they had we had them wooden muskets. And it just, he's not like being a dick. He's just being funny. And so I relate it in this podcast. And here is a lobster back. Nick Rose loving it. Even as lobster backs love the Spurs. That was our team this year. And then he sent me another email. Said, sports are the best. You have won it with both. Kids will never forget that. Amazing. Fuck poker. I could hear the passion in your belly. Talking about the 2 things you love best. Your kids and basketball. If you ever feel down, just remember, a lot of people are idiots. You are sound as fuck. Okay. So it's nice. Nice little pick me up. I need pick me ups with my turbulent life. And he said, obviously basketball is not big in the UK. Is that true? I guess it's not. He said, this story I promise happened. At my school, only maybe 12 people wanted to play ball, but all ages. I was 13, and the tallest guy opponent was 18 and 6'2". He went to dunk on me, and I leaned into him and blocked his dunk and floored him. He was on the floor. People were shocked. I used to do a lot of gymnastics. Broke my arm 3 times. I still love gymnastics as a support for basketball. I just love how it improves your jump and flexibility. I wish I went to USA school in a way and had you as my coach. You would have loved to coach me. I was beyond psychotic. So he knows I like dogs. And then he sent me a couple pictures. Says that was most improved trophy from camp out of 50 players. So he got most improved. That's sick. He said, the best trophy was given to the coach's son. He was okay. The second best player, I think. Says Nick Rose. And there's lots of people like Nick Rose all over the world that listen to this podcast. Something about it strikes a chord with them. And I love it when they then tell their stories. I read a bunch of I Can Add stuff. That's someone in Kansas City, which is partly in Kansas. I don't know. It's I Can Add. You heard his shit. Okay. Patron Discord's also where patrons play poker together, and the poker club is being revamped. So anyone at any tier. Any patron at any tier can play. And there's a big tournament coming up March 30th. I believe it's at 5:30 p.m. Pacific. Me and Miss Scorsese will be playing. There'll be bounty on us. And I think it's a $100 buy-in or a $50 buy-in. I'm not sure. But, sign up and go to Discord to get the info. And you can also bet sports together with no vig on there. And you can buy pieces of me when I play on stream with no markup, which sounds horrible, doesn't it? Because I've been losing for a while now. Well, lifetime, I'm a huge winner. And I believe I am significantly plus EV when I play. But variance can be a motherfucker, and I'm currently not getting the volume in to fade negative variance. Anyways, wow, 26 minutes of promo, sound guy. You wrote way too much shit. You wrote all that Sean Yapel shit, man. Why? You know we're supposed to get to the poker. People love hand history, sound guy. Been telling you that shit for 8 years. You don't give a fuck about the people? Beautiful. Okay. So, last the Patrons heard. I got something done that I really wanted to get done for a while. Basically, I've had all these things that I've been working on, but not finishing, and that's been frustrating. I don't have a ton of patience. I used to when I was younger. Now I have very little. But I've equated it in this podcast to having planes in the air, being an air traffic controller, needing to land planes and then get them to gates. Well, I finally got my first one to a gate, and I really wanted to celebrate that on Sunday night. I just worked so hard. I knew, in the days leading up to it, while I was working, you work to the point where you just feel like your head's going to explode. I knew I needed Sunday night to decompress and kind of celebrate a minor accomplishment, but it didn't happen for whatever reason. So I went into my session on Lucky Lady Casino Live on next night, Monday, March 17th, St. Patty's Day, sober, grateful for some stuff that I got done, but not relaxed at all. And you really got to be relaxed when you play poker. So let's take another sip of coffee and let's see what happens. I can't figure out this. I can't figure out this fucking thermos. You have to open it at the top. Okay. So it is St. Patty's Day, and people are playing like it. We're playing the bounty game, the Gardens bounty game, 5-5-10, with an incredible lineup. Huge Cock Ken in the 1. I'm in the 2 seat. Julie from Palmdale in the 3 seat. She did something. She made an incredible gesture on this night. I won't say what it was, but this is someone that I've got into it with at the poker table so many times. And, people are going to get heated at the poker table, especially people who aren't wealthy. And I certainly am not. I don't know that she is either. She is fine. But just a really big-hearted gesture. And those mean a lot. And so it was odd playing against her on this night. There's some nights where we're, fucking yelling at each other. But I think it's always been, understood by the other that shit's tough and I'm a hothead and she's sensitive to certain things. But I just wanted to give her a shout out. But she's in the 3 seat. CK, our number one chatter on the show, has traveled and is staying in Gardena and playing at Lucky Lady every night. And this is the coolest thing about having a poker show. Someone that lives in another country, God, I can't remember where he lives right now, somewhere that's incredibly nice and safe. I want to say, I don't know. But one of those, Asian countries that's like, just perfect, if you will. But he came over. He's in the chat every night, and he came over and he played a bunch of nights, and that shit's really cool. And he got a very warm reception because people appreciate seeing him in the chat, and I just thought that was very cool. Nate Hill next to him. He never comes in the chat. No, he does sometimes, but Nate Hill is someone I met while working at Hustle Casino Live, and I became friends with him. He's a lot younger than I am, almost 20 years, but it doesn't matter. We're similar in many ways. Sense of humor for sure. I love Nate and love the next guy, Kevin LAX. Just just a really genuine dude that loves DJing, and he's become a big part of the Lucky Lady poker scene and Lucky Lady Casino Live. And then Brandon Fraser, a gold medalist, gold fucking medalist USA. He won silver, but the Russians cheated, of course, and got upgraded to gold later. Brandon Fraser is fucking fantastic. Really fun dude. Also funny. It's cool that I've become, friends with a lot of these people. I go golfing with them and whatnot. The next guy's Mr. J. This guy's an interesting character, but a lot of action and fun. And then Hangout Aaron, who has spent the day at the Hangout. Well, one of his hangouts, and those are restaurants. He's got one at Seal Beach and one at Huntington Beach. They're good spots, really good food, obviously plenty to drink there. And so he was a little bit overserved heading in, and the game was absolutely crazy to start. And I was card dead, and I'm on a huge downswing. When you're a huge downswing and you're card dead in a crazy game, you got to keep folding. And of course, Maverick in the chat was pointing it out that I hadn't V-pipped. Couldn't. Just looking down at 9 deuce offsuit, Jack 3 offsuit, a 3-bet in front of you. Nothing you can do. Well, then I got pocket kings. Okay, I played that one. And I got it all in 3 ways, and I got half the pot. So it's like a 1.5x up when you do that. That's cool. And then I decided, I went back to folding, and then I decided it was time for a steal, and I went all in with Jack 7. And Huge Cock Ken was the last to fold, and he showed me Jack 8. And he said, "Is this good?" I said, "What do you think?" And he folded it. And I said, "Of course it is." So I kind of dodged a bullet there. But it's just, this is the start of the session. And so I'm on my first buy-in, and I've run up a little bit. And then I flopped trips against better trips in just an automatic spot to get stacked by Nate. And I did. I had Jack 5. He had Queen 5. It was 5-5-10 with a flush draw. And we weren't just like playing Jack 5 and Queen 5. It was either a bomb pot or like a straddle limper or something like that. But, it's trips over trips. And I had just watched Nate. I didn't scout him or whatever, but I tuned in to see how he's doing on Hustler Casino Live Max Play Monday before this. And I saw him flop trips with an 8 kicker and go all in for several thousand. So, I felt pretty good about being in there with Jack 5 on 5-5-10. He had Queen 5. It's cooler. And just like that, first buy-in gone. So, fuck, man. It's not the end of the world, but it's the end of the first buy-in, isn't it? And I think every time I get stacked, I deserve a sip of coffee because I didn't sleep a lot last night. Sound guy kept me up. What were you doing, man? What was her name? You don't even know. I don't know if you guys have, any of you fellow podcasters, what your sound guys are like. Mine is like fucking Tommy Lee in his prime. I'll leave it at that. So I'm stacked. I rebuy, and I win some small pots, and I chop some pots, and then I got it in as a flip with Queen 8 of diamonds on Ace Queen 7, 2 diamonds against Ace Jack Black. And Jack Black was not my opponent. I have played against Jack Black at the Commerce, but I was up against someone holding Ace Jack that was black and ran it twice, and I binked on both. I won a flip twice, and Julia took a picture of it, said, "Put this in your podcast." Okay, Julia, I put it in my podcast. I won a flip twice. It wasn't a huge pot, but we're going in the right direction now. And then I got all in with Ace Jack against King Jack and chopped. That's okay. It's going to happen. And then I had a pretty good read that CK had a flush draw. So I was calling him down with King High. And then when he checked the river, when he gave up, I just checked because I beat them with flush draws. But he had a King High flush draw with a better kicker. Okay, those are just little annoying hands. Not him, but you read the hand perfectly. Do I really need to bluff with King High? And maybe the answer is yes if you're always going to be outkicked. So then something cool happened. I flopped a set in a multi-way bloater, and I bet small, and everyone just turbo mucked their cards. And then you're like, should I not have bet? No, you should bet when it's there's many draws available and you're playing against a bunch of, close your ears if you were playing that night, fucking idiots. If you're playing against, close your ears, a bunch of fucking idiots, you always got to bet your set when it's like 7 ways and there's a bunch in there and there's a trillion draws available. But no one had anything. You can take the earmuffs off, guys. You guys all played great. So that was bittersweet. It's nice to flop a set and a bloater. It's not nice to get no action. And then I had twice in a row, I flopped the combo draw and whiffed, and that gets expensive. And the game evolved into street poker. It got shorthanded, which historically I've done very well at, both shorthanded and street poker. But Mr. J was just running like God. He would have me notched in every single pot. He would have me out kicked. He would have, if I had a pocket pair like 9s or 10s and it came like, and I 3-bet and it came like queen deuce 4 with the draws, he would always have like queen 3. And that was frustrating. I think Kevin LAX rivered me 3-outer in a big pot. And, that's frustrating, even though I love Kevin LAX. And then I got another combo where I lost a shit ton. I had queen 3 of clubs on 6-5 deuce, 2 clubs against pocket 8s. Well, I can hit a queen, a 4, or a club. I just didn't. And now I'm buried. And it kept getting more and more shorthanded. And every time I squeezed with a mid pair, and that's what I was getting, fucking Mr. J would flop the 1-over card as top pair with no kicker, or say I'd squeeze with ace-9 and the whole table called, which is less players but still multiple opponents. It'll come queen 9-7, I'd check, and then the turn would bring a second flush draw and more draws, and he'd start betting, and I'd call down. I was under repped, and he'd just have queen 3. That was the hand of the night, queen 3. And I was stuck but got some momentum late night, and then in a really crucial spot, I missed a straight flush draw where I had 3-bet with 8-7 of clubs, and it came 6-6-4 with 2 clubs. And I lost to 9-7 offsuit, which is really frustrating because, I barreled off, and Mr. J is just floating, and he raised me on the river. So he had always planned to raise me on the river, I guess, and he had nothing. And I knew it was bullshit, but I couldn't do anything about it because he raised huge, and it's just, if I happen to be wrong, and when you're on a downswing, I was gonna say you're wrong more often. I don't even know if that's true. Your reads are wrong more often. What's true is you trust them less often. And so I just didn't trust it, and I folded, and he showed the 9-7 off, and that was a really big pot for those 2 hands. And then even later, I had ace-8, and I squeezed huge, and it came 8-5 deuce, and I bet, and he called, and the turn was a 5, and there's 2 clubs on the flop, and I checked the turn. That's debatable whether to check the turn, but it's probably a bet. Anyways, the river was a 4, and he led, and I paid it, and he had 7-6. But this was when the pots were all white chips. This was straddle 100, straddle 200, and then I had some guy that played on Hustler Casino Live and just found his way over to Lucky Lady. Big Nate. In a hand against him, I was in there with Jack-6 and just shorthanded street poker, and it came 8-8-6, and I bet, and he called, and the turn was a 9. I don't love that card. Everything that had a draw made something, and the river's a 4, and he went all in, and this didn't make much sense to me, but I folded, and he had pocket 4s. So now I'm getting 2-outed, and now I'm really stuck. And then I doubled up with pocket aces for, I don't know how much, not a ton, but the very next hand, Mr. J, who doubled me up, made it 240, and we're very shorthanded. I called with King 10, and it came 10-7-6, and he bet 240 again. I have top pair, good kicker, and the turn was the 5 of hearts, and he bet 440, and it was decision time for me. I had 1,200, so I had 1,700. So I only doubled for 850 with aces. So I have 1,700 here, and I decided my hand's good, and I jammed it, and he snap called, and he had 9-7 of hearts. So he had a pair, he had a combo draw, and we're gonna run it twice. And so I took a picture of the much smaller flip. I also had the king of hearts. I didn't take a picture. Julia from Palmdale did and sent it to me. And now I'm going to run this flip, this really key flip, $3,400 pot, twice. And first run out, he hits a 9 for 2 pair. And the second one, he makes a flush. And that's it. I can't go on, man. It's just been so rough on Monday nights in the gold room for so fucking long with Babby Brian and Ono Elena, and I knew like I'm not playing poker for a while. I don't believe if I take a step back, I believe in the game. I believe in the edge available. In the moment, I don't believe in anything. I'm skeptical of anything, and I know I need an extended break. I just can't do anymore. I lost another Honda, and that's not funny to me or my boss, Cal. And if you want to know what happens next, you know where to go. Patreon.com/DGAF poker player. Let's run through the goals real quick. 50-50 tilt. Okay. I did not fade the tilt on this week. So I am 6-8 on the year. That means out of 14 sessions, I've tilted 8 of them. And I'm always going to, express a little frustration, but tilt is when I get really angry. I don't do anything regrettable. I haven't yet, knock on wood, but I just don't like it because I go to like a dark place, and that night after, I'm trying to go to sleep, doesn't work. I hate it, and I feel horrible till the next day at least. And I'm 6-8 on the year. It's an embarrassing goal, and I'm not even hitting it. No makeup. I started the year $61,810 in makeup. I'm $80,290 in makeup. Going the wrong direction. Not getting a ton of volume in, and I just right now I can't sit down at a poker table. Like, I just feel like I had a good friend that was a huge winner at the Gardens back in the day, and then he got doom switched. And he just kept losing and losing and losing. And he said it best. He said, I feel like that chandelier above me is going to fall on my head right now. And I don't know if they had chandeliers in the tent at the Gardens, but you get the point. That's how I feel right now at the poker table. I'd much rather just work on other content. It sucks when you're backed, but you're also not doing your backers any favor if you sit down when you just absolutely don't believe anything good is going to happen for you. Yeah, you're going to win some pots, but when it matters most, you're going to get whacked. You're going to, get 2-outed. He's going to hit the open-ender. You're going to miss the straight flush draw against nothing. You're going to miss the combo draw with overcard. And the stuff that goes on when it's full ring is it's kind of important. What happens when it's street poker is really important and did not go well. So 6-8. Makeup is fucking way too high, and last goal is 230. I want to weigh 230 pounds or less by the end of the year. Started at 247.3, got down to 231.7 last week. I strayed from my good diet. I've been exercising a lot and zinning a lot, of course, like a good boy, but I ate kind of shitty last couple of days. So I gained a pound, whatever. 232.7. I can still hit this goal. I can still hit all of them. I just got to regroup, and it's a common theme for me. Back to the drawing board.